Welcome to the liberating river where spiritual freedom meets soul aligned wealth. I'm Wanda.
What if the box is the or? What if the box equals is literally a translation of or? So, how about this? What if your liberation is in the and? Are you following? So, it becomes spirituality and wealthy, professional and creative, responsible and free spirited, humble and visible, soft and powerful, family oriented and self honoring, stable and purpose driven. Do you hear the difference? Those are two completely different identities when we hear or versus or versus and. Think of Boolean logic. They are different identities. The and is a more fuller identity. You can be both. And I think the and is the most honest of your identity. It exposes the most honest of your identity. Now we're coming to the intersection. Woo! Here comes the intersection. The intersection of self-worth, spirituality, and financial empowerment. You know what we have to talk about? Money. You know we have to talk about money because money is one of the clearest places where inherited identity shows up. Many people do not just inherit financial habits. I have been saying that and I will keep saying that. They inherit financial identities. They inherit, we are not rich people. Obtaining money is always hard. People with money are greedy. You have to work yourself into the ground. There is never enough money. You cannot trust people with money. Don't talk about money. Don't ask for too much. Don't charge. Don't change too much. Don't charge too much. Be grateful for whatever you get. Stay humble. So for whatever reason, we equate having money as not being humble. That one, that's gonna have to be another topic another day. Don't dream too big. And those messages becomes our boxes. Not one, but multiple boxes. A person may say they want financial freedom, but their identity is still loyal to scarcity. They may say they want to build wealth, right? But they feel guilty for wanting more. They say they want to charge for their services, but they feel ashamed being either paid more money or for asking what they're worth. They may want abundance, but they distrust people who have it. How? They may say they want to be financially empowered, but they still see themselves as someone who must struggle to be worthy. That is not just budgeting. That is identity. We can learn every financial strategy in the world and still sabotage ourselves if our identity cannot hold the expansion. We can learn about saving, investing, insurance, business, taxes, and wealth building. That's all great. Great. Let's go. Let's do this. All of that matters. But underneath, if you are struggling with your identity, that piece will sabotage everything. If your inherited box says people like us do not have money, then every step toward wealth may feel like a betrayal. If your inherited box says good people struggle, then ease may feel suspicious. If your inherited box says Wanting more is selfish, then ambition may feel unsafe, and sometimes it might be presented as unholy. If your inherited box says money changes people, then part of you may resist the very growth you say you want. That is why financial transformation is not just about numbers, it is about identity expansion. It is about becoming the kind of person who can hold more without losing yourself. It's about more clarity, more responsibility, more opportunity, more resources, more visibility, more choice, more generosity and power and peace. And for many people, that requires stepping out of the inherited box that equated struggle with virtue. Ooh, I will say that one again. Mm, I will say that one again. For many people, stepping out of the inherited box is a struggle. Why? Because the struggle has been characterized as being virtuous. Struggle may have shaped you, but struggle does not have to define your worth. It does not. Survival may have taught you, but survival does not have to be your permanent financial identity and residence. You are allowed to build. You are allowed to learn. You are allowed to receive. You are allowed to charge. You are allowed to own. You are allowed to invest, to create. You're allowed to be both spiritually grounded and fiscally empowered. You are allowed. You are allowed to be both a steward and still hold sacredness in your heart. You are allowed. Because when you make that choice, you now are building your own box. That's why we are naming boxes today. We are. And and let's be honest. If stepping out of the box were easy, more people would do it. Hands down, I know it. More people would. But the box feels safe for a reason. It gives you predictability. We love predictability. We love that. It gives us belonging. We love that. It gives us approval. We adore that. It gives us rules. You know what that does? Removes our internal accountability. It tells you who to be. It tells you what to avoid. It tells you what success looks like. It tells you how to stay acceptable. And for a while, that can feel comforting and comfortable. And unfortunately, freedom can feel overwhelming. It feels overwhelming when, especially when we have been trained by containment, because freedom requires choice, and choice requires responsibility, and responsibility requires self-trust. That's why some people, they say they want freedom, but what they really want is a better box, a more comfortable box, a prettier box, a socially approved box, a box with better furniture, but still a box. Freedom is not a box. And that's where the friction lives. True freedom asks more of us. It asks us to participate consciously in our becoming. We cannot blame anyone else. It asks us to stop outsourcing our identity to family, culture, religion, career, gender roles, our public approval. It asks us to ask these questions. Who am I becoming? What do I value? What do I believe now? What do I deserve? What do I desire? What am I called to build? What am I no longer willing to carry? What am I ready to release? What am I ready to learn? What am I ready to receive? What am I ready to become responsible for. That is why freedom is not just an escape. Freedom is formation. It's formation. You are not just leaving a box. You are forming a self, a conscious self, a grounded self, a spiritually mature self, a financially aware self, a relationally honest self, a self that can hold complexity, a self that can say, I am still becoming, and I do not need to have every answer to take the next faithful step. Because stepping out of the box does not mean you suddenly know everything. It means you stop pretending the box is your whole world. And by doing so, it ushers in less static and builds communication with God, which means that is enough to begin. That's equivalent to a grain of a mustard seed. So, what is the next step? What is your first step? What I'm going to tell you is this. We're not fixing. We are not quitting. We are not confronting everybody. We are not making a dramatic announcement. No, we're not. We are naming. Name the box. Name the expectation. Name the inherited role. Name the fear. Name the script. Name the pattern. Name the identity that no longer fits. That's what you do for yourself. What do I mean? I mean, you might say, I inherited the role of being the strong one. I did. I inherited the belief that obtaining money is always a struggle. I inherited the expectation that I should not want too much. I inherited that. I inherited the idea that my career must be practical to be valid. I inherited that. I inherited the belief that love requires self-abandonment. Name it. Name it that you inherited a version of faith that made you afraid to own your voice. Name it that you inherited a version of success that does not include your soul. Name it. Because what is unnamed controls you from the shadows. By naming it, you're bringing it to light. And you already know, darkness can never stay when light is around. That means what is named can be examined, and what is examined can be transformed. You may not be ready to change everything today. That is okay. And please don't. This is part one. Name it. We are not rushing transformation. We are beginning with awareness, because awareness is not small. Awareness is the doorway. Awareness is the moment the person on the roof says, wait, maybe the boat is part of the answer. Awareness is the moment you realize maybe the life I inherited is not the only life available. Awareness is the moment you say, maybe I am allowed to become more than the role I played. That is sacred. That is sacred. So this week, I want you to notice some things. Notice where you say should. Yep, I am absolutely, yes, I am going back there. Notice where you feel guilty from wanting something honest. Notice where resentment shows up. Notice where envy points to buried desire. Notice where your body tightens when you imagine being seen differently. Notice where you feel more loyal to expectations than to truth. Notice where you keep waiting for permission. And then ask yourself this: is this mine? Did I choose this? Does this still fit? Does this identity support my wholeness? Or is this a box I never chose? As I always say, no judgment. Do not judge yourself. Just notice, because noticing reveals the door to your future. Stay tuned. To be continued, coming next week.